welcome in, hockey fans to the Desert Southwest. This is year number 5 for us. I told you we're going to have a big month of September, and if you know anything about hockey in the Desert Southwest, you know the guy sitting next to me, Randy Exelby. We're sitting here in the luxurious Behind the Mask goalie store up in Scottsdale. Randy, first of all, welcome in, and thanks for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me. It's time's flying, I guess, when we're having fun for 5 years. So, wow, it seems like just yesterday we were getting together for the first time.
When we talk about doing a Sunday special, that's something I started a couple years ago, dabbled with it. This year, I'm trying to make it a Sunday conversation, right? Kind of like the old ESPN had a Sunday conversation every night. So we're going to talk hockey, but I thought it was kind of unique in the way that things have grown in hockey down here. And you and I talked many times about where it all started. So tell us a little bit about where it started for you down here. I know after your playing days, you got into a small store and it went from there, but give us a little recap.
Yeah, back in 1994, I opened a 400 square foot store for some unknown reason in Peoria, close to where I live, which looking back, I have no idea what I was thinking at that time. There, the closest ice rink was the Coliseum and Oceanside, and at that time, Tower Plaza were the only full-time ice rinks, and there was some roller hockey being played at the YMCA, but there was starting to get a little momentum and some passion for the sport, so open it from there. And a couple years later the Coyotes moved here, which was really kind of the start of the growth of hockey, and then obviously they built the Ice Den, and more people played hockey, but it still took a while for it to grow, and over the years we expanded our stores and opened some new stores, and learning every day how to run a business, and that's kind of where we ended up now with 2 stores in the AZ Ice Peoria and AZ Ice Gilbert, and then kind of our flagship store, 6,000 square foot store in Scottsdale at Shea and the 101, which is kind of so it's worked out really well, and just to see the hockey, the growth of hockey, and to see my favorite thing is to see the look on the faces of the people that come in our store now from out of town.
Right.
Where, years ago they asked, does anybody play hockey here? Wow, I wouldn't have thought there was a hockey shop. Now they want to talk about ASU hockey. They want to talk about if we've ever met Austin Matthews, and it's almost like we could have a bus tour of, Austin Matthews' favorite restaurants and school or whatever, and, so it went from nobody caring and thinking nobody played hockey here to people really knowing about hockey in Arizona, and the respect that it's gotten across the country. We go to different meetings for Bauer and CCM, and the amount of respect, it's really awesome. It's incredible. It blows me away, and I'm very proud to be a small part of hockey in Arizona.
Well, I think you're way too modest, because I think you're a bigger part of hockey in Arizona than you're admitting to. But when I started Ice Time Hockey Southwest, I looked at it and I said, ASU's coming on after a national championship. I sat down with Coach Powers afterwards and realized that they were making the jump to NCAA. I could see that there was potential for the NHL. I knew Vegas was coming in. But when I looked at all the other programs, they were really down, right? The ACHA programs all throughout the Desert Southwest were very much down. As we look as to what's happened over the past 5 years, everything has grown from the youth level on up. What do you think the main driving force for that was?
I think a lot of this stuff now is the Coyotes have been really good with getting some grassroots hockey going, and I think that's going to have a big effect 5 or 10 years from now. So I think they do it. They've done an awesome job now. The NHL has given them some financial money to try and grow hockey. I mean, we have that Kachina's Girls program this year. I mean, Grand Canyon now has gotten into hockey in their ACHAD 1 and 2 club, so they've moved up substantially from there. I mean, U of A's program seems strong, and then obviously ASU has a few teams, and then the women's hockey with Grand Canyon and ASU, and maybe hopefully U of A will look into getting a women's team in the future. So the club level hockey is great. The travel program seems strong. We have some outstanding coaches and directors at the different programs. So it's just a really good time for hockey. I don't think it's ever been stronger or better or a brighter future than today.
You know, when I look back, and you remember these days of NCAA hockey up at NAU, right? And everybody thought that would be the start of everything, and maybe it was. But when their program went away, it was kind of a, oh boy, we got to rebuild a little bit, don't we? Were you shocked to see Arizona State make the jump?
Not at all. Not at all, because they had been so successful in the ACHA hockey and winning the national championship and always being really competitive. And there was need for growth. There was need for more schools. I still think there are. There's enough good players to do it. Where, maybe 20, 25 years ago, there wasn't enough talented players to be able to be competitive. I still think they could be, 4 or 5 more D1 teams. I know UNLV had talked about that up there, and maybe some of the, Stanford, USC, UCLA schools, something over there. I still think there's room for growth. And boy, did ASU blow everybody's expectations out of the water, and they're a known program, and the recruits they got are, they got a bunch of ex-NHL players' kids, which is a testament, because those guys really know hockey, so they wouldn't send their kids to a program that they didn't believe in.
Right. And the one thing that we always talk about, and I think I give a lot of credit to Aaron Cohen for this, is for a number of years, every time the media went out to the Coyotes, it was 2 questions, and then when you get in a new rink, when you get in a new rink. And Aaron Cohen kind of stepped in a year ago now, a little over a year ago, and I think he just put the kibosh on arenas. He said, let's not talk arenas, let's talk hockey, and let's not talk about why we can't do something, let's talk about why we can do something. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think a lot has been made of the rink being too far and this. I think some of it's an excuse. I mean, we're in Arizona where, 30 minutes or 45 minutes or for an hour drive seems to be a sticking point, whether it's the media or not. Well, if you're in California or a lot of other marketplaces, you're committing to a lot more than that. And I think a lot of it had to do with some of the product that, maybe they weren't as competitive as they had been in years past. Maybe they didn't have some of the big name players. Well, now they got, Kessel, and they got a bunch of guys and a young team, and they look really, like they're going to have a bright future. They just re-signed, Keller to a long contract. So they got some dynamic players, and I think some of it's an excuse. I think if the product is good on the ice, people will go. And I think now with maybe the state of some of the other sports teams in Arizona, they have a chance to win the fans over. They do a fantastic job, better than anybody by far, with stuff in the community and and being out there, and players on the ice and at the rink and with the programs. So they do a great job.
All right, let's take a quick break. Let's come back and talk about the present. We got a good depth research into the past, so let's talk about what's going on right here and now.
Pre-game like a pro, post-game like a champion at College Bar and Grill. Located across the street from the iconic A Mountain and Sun Devil Stadium and a quick walk from Wells Fargo Arena, College Bar and Grill is your home for the best local craft beer, delicious creative cocktails, tasty food, and Tempe's best atmosphere for Arizona State athletics. College Bar and Grill. Pre-game like a pro, post-game like a champion. Online at ilovecollege.co.
All right, we're back on another Icetime Hockey SW.com Sunday Special. Randy Exelby is still with me. I locked him down in his own store for a little while here, but we talked about the past, Randy. Let's talk a little bit about the present and all the things. I still think a little bit of, I don't know what the word is, not disbelief, but just kind of shock as to how fast all this took off. But let's talk a little bit about at the very top here in Arizona with the Arizona Coyotes and what's happened, just recently within the last couple of months. A new owner comes in. He's got a B in front of an M in front of his dollar sign. So a billionaire is the first time we've ever had one in the time here in Arizona. That means a lot. But Aaron Cohen, the new president and CEO for about a year now. I call him new, but he's not really new. He's been around. And now, like you mentioned in the last segment, some of the guys that they've signed and were able to sign, growth in hockey, and it's looking pretty good right now at the NHL level, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they're good. They have a lot of young players. I think they have drafted well over the last few years, and some of those drafts, they've got some commodities and players for some of them, and I think the future's bright. They got 2 great goalies. They got a really good defensive core. Now we got it looks like a little more scoring, and if the team can stay healthy and get off to a little better start than we have the last couple of years, I think it's going to be a great season.
All right, couple things. You have a personal tie to the Coyotes with your nephew, Kyle Capobianco. Suffered a really unfortunate, but I guess kind of fortunate injury, too. If you're going to get hurt at the NHL level, right? But how's Kyle doing, and what's his prospects for this year?
Kyle's doing well. He's been living with me pretty well the whole summer and working hard and working out with the Coyotes, and he's been skating since about May and stuff, so he's very positive and looking good, and hopefully he'll probably end up in Tucson for to start the season when he's ready, and hopefully when he gets an opportunity or gets a chance, he makes the most of it. So the ball's in his court right now. I can't do anything more other than support him.
Absolutely, and we look at the entire roster of the Coyotes this year, and this is the first time that I talked with Craig Morgan last week, and we visited a little bit about Clayton Keller and the big contract, and I said, what do you think about that? And he said, I'm going to put it on a wait and see. And I said, 2 years ago he came out flying in his rookie campaign. He was a little bit down last year, the sophomore slump, as we like to say. This year, though, there might be a lot of guys around Clayton Keller that can help make Clayton Keller better.
Absolutely. So he's a playmaker and a dynamic player. So if you pass to somebody and they don't score, you're not going to get points. So hopefully he's got a couple guys now that'll be able to put the puck in the net. And he's a dynamic player, and the money these guys get these days is just crazy all around. But he's got a bright future here, and he's got a great mind, and he's a great playmaker. And if he can get some guys that can score around him, the sky's the limit.
All right, you have a goalie background. And for anybody that doesn't know, you're the man. You were the guy that was a Phoenix Roadrunner way back when. So you look at the goaltending, and health is so important, right? But how important is it to have two good goaltenders?
I think you saw that last year, that how important it is when Ranta got hurt early and came in and played well. So having two good goalies is very important for a team. And there's a lot of good goalies out there. I mean, the number one gets hurt in these teams, and the number twos and even some of the guys from the American League can come in and fill in. So the goalies are so good right now. But, I mean, Ranta's, a top goalie in the NHL, so hope he can stay healthy. And they've got a great one, too.
Okay, so we go from the NHL to the AHL. You've had a good experience now with the Tucson Roadrunners and seen what they've done. Was the Desert Southwest ready for an AHL franchise in your estimation?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know Kyle absolutely loves it in Tucson, thinks it's a great place. I've been down to a handful of games. The rinks hop in, and the community knows about the team, and they get a good turnout of fans. So I think absolutely, and I think Tucson needed it, and I really hope that with them being there and the Coyotes, that eventually maybe we get a rink in Tucson, that it leads to a full-time ice rink. And if they get that in Tucson, hockey will just explode. But hockey right now, you're working around the gem show, and it's out in the summer, and some of the teams have to come here for tryouts. But I think the fan base and the reaction has been fantastic, and Kyle cannot speak high enough about the whole Tucson living there and the fans and the organization.
All right, that's firsthand experience. So we take a step down, and it's hard to say a step down because the way NCAA hockey has blossomed here in the Desert Southwest at ASU. What are your thoughts on that? Did you think that could possibly happen in their fourth full season now of NCAA hockey, that they're possibly a top 10, top 15 team in the country?
That kind of blows everybody away, I think. Yeah. I think everybody kind of, knew them transitioning. They thought it was going to be a rough road. And, some of those programs that they're competing with and beating are well-established, big-name programs that years ago got all the big name recruits, and now it seems the good players are wanting to come here, and the players that are drafted by the NHL. And I really think this is the place to play. I mean, if you're a kid coming from Saskatchewan and you're on a recruiting trip in February in Tempe, I think they have almost an unfair advantage over some of the back east cold schools. So more power to them, and I think it's going to be awesome when they get that rink going on campus. And I think they're gonna get a lot of fans and a lot of people coming, and there's a lot of buzz. People come from out of town and want to know that stuff, and want to know if we have hats or Sun Devil stuff. So it's pretty good. I'm blown away and impressed. And Coach Powers has done a phenomenal job. I don't know if he receives the credit that he deserves for taking that program to that level. And I think he's done an awesome job, and I think he's solidified himself as as the coach for the program.
I talked to him in April after the season was over, and I said, you were up for a lot of awards. You got a lot of pats on the back. And he tells me that the best award that he received all season long, the one that he wanted more than anything, was one from his peers at ASU, the Frank Cush Coaches Award. He said, when you have coaches like Herm Edwards and Bobby Hurley and all the different coaches, Charlie Turner Thorne, and you just go down the list of the class acts, Bob Bowman, I mean, you go right down the list, there's a bunch of great coaches at ASU, and they selected Coach Powers as their Coach of the Year. That tells you something, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, I think they had the most success of any of the teams there, and probably the least notoriety and maybe the least expectations, because it's a huge school. I mean that college football and basketball are a big big time programs. So for him to win that is a huge honor, and even for the hockey to get more and more credibility. And I think, like you said, once they get that rink on campus, I mean they'll just get the students. The students will be out, and I think it'll be a great thing. I look forward to going to the games, soon. I know, they're packed when they're at Oceanside, and they can only get so many. But I think it's going to really take the program to the next level. With the fan base and the student base right now, the recruits they have, and the team and the players and the coaching staff, they're like you said, they're top 10.
Okay, so 3 words that have circled around everywhere I've been all summer long in the off season are character, depth, and one other word is stability. And it looks like all of our programs, we have character, we have depth, and now we have some stability. Do you see it that way as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you look at a handful of years ago, when I remember going to the city of Glendale, council meetings to speak about why the team should be staying, and some of that stuff, and that's all past. And then there's not the Canadian media of the ownership things and this. So I think hockey's never been in a stronger state here. Like I said, I can't say enough that the Coyotes are doing a wonderful job growing hockey, getting the 4, 5, 6-year-olds involved in the game at little to no cost, getting them free equipment to use. So I think the NHL, through the NHL initiative, I think Matt Schott is doing just a fantastic job. The high school hockey is amazing. The fan base for high school hockey, they all have social media accounts. You can see when they're playing. You go to the games, and there's a few hundred people at the games or more, and there's some rivalries that have been created, and the travel hockey programs have done an awesome job. So I think hockey is awesome, and I really think that the Coyotes and Matt Schott have done a excellent job, and the direction they're going, and like we talked about, starting the Kachinas, which is a girls hockey program. I think that's huge, and tying that in, the girls now have a goal. They can look at the ASU or Grand Canyon for the girls program. So I think it's awesome.
As I look around your store, one of the things that always catches my eye is that Kachina jersey you have hanging right above the counter, right? You saw the Kachina jersey back when Kachuk and Roenick and those guys in the glory days, Shane Doan. The Kachina's making the comeback, and I think everybody likes it.
It's funny as sometimes those jerseys go out of favor, and then when they come back, however many years later, you just kind of look at them different, and you look at it as like a nostalgia and a cool factor, and you start looking and you're like, I think it's the 23rd year the Coyotes have been in desert and all that stuff. And I guess we were kind of really fortunate when they came here, the big name players that they had. And I love the jersey. I think it looks awesome, and I think Ranta's Kachina's pads are the best set of goalie equipment in the NHL. So I love it. But it's funny as sometimes the jerseys look better the second time around than the first time around.
All right, the final thing we got to talk about in this segment of current is the Kachinas and the women's programs. Because when I talked to Lindsay Fry 5 years ago, and I told her what I was going to do, and she said, "Oh, great, that's great. We need more girls. We need more girls." We've got more girls, don't we?
Yeah, I believe they have over 100 girls in that program, and obviously Lindsay's a fantastic ambassador to the game, total, and to be able to have a person with her background of college hockey and the Olympics and World Championships, helping the girls directly, I think is huge. I think the girls being able to see ASU or Grand Canyon girls or Lindsay Ellis or Lindsay Fry out there with them, I think it means a lot. And I think it just gives them a lot more comfortable feeling having some girls around and seeing what they've accomplished. And the girls know the stuff, and the the coaches and stuff, they know the challenges of girls hockey, and especially when they're playing with the boys. And now that they have their own program, wow, they're going to take off. And I think a lot more girls are going to feel comfortable playing on a team with girls and progressing, and I think there's huge opportunities for the girls. So I just think this is an amazing program. We're trying to figure out how we can tie something in at our store with a girls hockey night or something, right, because there's so many of them, and I think they're awesome, and I think that's a huge area for growth, and I think they're going to explode, and they're getting a lot of notoriety. I mean, the Coyotes are helping them doing some stuff, and Matt Schott being involved, so they're getting the word out about the girls program, and I think you're going to just see that skyrocket.
All right, let's take one more quick break. Let's come back and finish things up by talking about the future. If you can predict, because I couldn't have predicted 5 years it was going to be like this. So if we look 5 years ahead, what could possibly happen down here? We'll be right back in just a minute.
Hey, Michael here from M-Drive. My dad, a world-class scientist, actually made M-Drive for himself to stay active and continue enjoying life. And yes, M-Drive supports healthy testosterone, but it's so much more. M-Drive is the everyday supplement to fuel your drive with more energy and more strength. Listen, we'd love for you to try M-Drive too. Visit mdriveformen.com and we'll give you 20% off your first purchase. Just type in the code DRIVE at checkout. Refine your prime with M-Drive.
All right, welcome back in, hockey fans. Another Sunday special. I've got Randy Exelby with me. I thought about doing this in the start of year 5, which for us was September, right? And I thought, who am I going to look to? And I had to come to you because I came to you right away. You were the first guy I talked to when I thought about doing this. I started print. I thought, no, I'm going to do audio. Then I moved to video. Now we're almost all video, right? So I've tried to evolve, and I keep going back to your story about the 400 square foot store and the things that you always told me about. I don't know if this business was a right idea or a wrong idea. Now I look around this place and I go like, it was the right idea. So I can only knock on wood and hope that the next 10 years, 5 years for us is as profitable and as growth filled as your business is. But congrats on the work. I mean, this place took a lot of work. I've watched you expand this place, and tell me a little bit about the future, about the next 5 years. Let's start with you first. What's this place going to be like in 5 years?
Every day I try to get better, and every day I try to learn, and every day I wake up and go, why didn't I think of that a week, a month, a year ago? So we're just trying to evolve, and the hockey industry is really evolving. It's becoming a lot more of the high-end stuff is being custom. Right. So in the last year or so, we have the custom Bauer Center, the custom CCM Center, the true stuff where you can come in and really get custom fit skates. Now Bauer and CCM have custom fit stick centers. So for us, it's evolving at the high end of really servicing the customer, and the companies are getting in. But what's happened in the hockey industry too is some of the companies, they've cut down on the dealers, so they've eliminated a lot of the smaller dealers and are hoping to put all their eggs in the basket of the bigger dealers or the more influential dealers in an area. So we're always striving to get better and make our store better. Bauer installed a Bauer skate wall, and CCM did a skate wall, and we expanded a year ago into the vaults where you could carry more sticks. So we're just trying to evolve and see where kind of the industry takes us. I mean, a couple of years ago there was no custom skates, and now everything's custom and this. So we're just kind of waiting to see what happens with the industry. Bauer has a Bauer World that they invite select dealers to, and that's in October, and they kind of see what their future, and they lay out the blueprint. So the hockey industry, there's not many companies now. A lot of them have disappeared over the years, but the big ones are stronger. And I think for us, we're just trying to get better and pride ourselves on customer service, and like Bauer last year told us, like, good customer service, you don't stay in business. You need to have superior customer service in anything you do these days to survive. And we have a great staff of kids who are passionate, who all play hockey, and they're like family. So I'm excited with the future of the hockey retail part.
Okay, so in addition to ice hockey, you do a lot of roller hockey stuff, and we're talking right now as you're getting ready to go down to Yuma, but you're in Prescott, you're in Lake Havasu, I think. You're pretty much all around the state of Arizona bringing roller hockey stuff to people. And how important is roller hockey? When I talk to the other coaches, they go, it's different, but it's similar, right? And if you can get them playing some form of hockey, whether it's street hockey, floor hockey, roller hockey, it all possibly can lead to ice, can it?
Yeah, and you're seeing that now. There's a bunch of college and actually pro players that through the years have played inline, and there's some good inline tournaments. The NARCH tournament, which is like a national championship that a lot of the teams do. I mean, ASU and NAU and U of A and Grand Canyon, they have inline hockey teams. It just kind of doesn't get the recognition I think it deserves. Yeah. It's a fun sport. It's good. There's not a lot of youth inline going on in Arizona, but in outerline communities, like Yuma, there's no ice. So you either play inline hockey or you don't play hockey. And we were in Prescott a few weeks ago, and the passion that the parents have and the sport, it's awesome. They had a great turnout, and we drive down to Yuma today, and inline hockey in those outlying communities, it's awesome. We pull up in our van, and it's like the ice cream truck coming, and they don't have hockey stores, so just to touch a hockey stick and do that, and it's fun. And a lot of people have donated equipment. You come in and you get new gloves, and you don't need your old ones, and they kind of give them to us, and we use that opportunity to take equipment down to those communities like Yuma and Prescott, where they need them, where they can use it, where it gets somebody involved in the sport that might not. So that's just our small part. I love inline. I think it's a great sport. I think the Coyotes have put a few inline rinks around, and just the experience is awesome. The people are friendly and they're happy, and it's great. So looking forward to the fun day down in Yuma today.
All right, I'm going to look back into my crystal ball, look ahead into my crystal ball. When I see it, I think the biggest growth that I'm going to see in the next 5 years is more rinks. And I'll tell you, I start with Vegas. When I go up to Vegas, and I included them in our coverage in the Desert Southwest, I call it, because I knew that NHL team was coming there. I knew there would be growth. They're getting 2 more rinks in Henderson. Bill Foley's already talking about 2 more rinks somewhere in the Vegas area. To me, that's going to be the next step down here, is more growth in rinks. And I'm guessing you're going to agree that you're going to want to see more ice rinks somewhere, whether it's here, Tucson, getting something going in Prescott again, or, who knows, maybe even Yuma sees an ice rink at some point.
Yeah, I think that, and there's the plans for that new rink up at the, basically the 303 and the I-17, and we've actually signed a letter of intent to be the pro shop in there, so hopefully that'll be open in 2020, and it's a pretty impressive facility and first class and that, and so I think that's going to be good. There is need for a little more, some more ice. I mean, I know high school hockey is kind of, their hands are tied by just how much ice they can get, because the high school, the travel programs at the rink obviously take a bulk of the ice, which they should, and the high school kind of fills in ice time. So I think more ice time and prime ice time would allow the high school hockey to grow, which I think there's room for growth there. The high school hockey, I can't say enough positive things with them. I still am the firm believer that Tucson is so needing a rink. Yeah. I mean, I believe it's the largest city in North America without a full-time ice rink. And once they got a rink there, that would be great, because I would love to see hockey grow there. Prescott, they have that beautiful rink there, and it's just, I don't know whether the community's just not big enough for hockey yet, or the cost of hockey, because the inline hockey is, under $100 for an entire season. So it's hard to all of a sudden go, oh, by the way, it's, multiples of that to play ice hockey, and the rink's only open a little bit. So I know that Flagstaff, their hockey program is strong, and they have a high school team there, and obviously the NAU team. So yeah, I think there is room for some more sheets of ice in town, and that's how you're going to grow hockey, is if there's not enough hours in the day to fill, the needs, then you can't really grow it. But if they do put more sheets, you're going to get more people involved. And like I said, as long as the, Coyotes and all the organizations and associations get along and understand that it's, we're all in this together. We're our hockey community here. We're competing against baseball and other sports. Right. We shouldn't compete against each other. We should complement each other.
Exactly. So let's wrap things up and let's talk about teams in the future. When I look at it, I'm going I didn't really think that there would be another NCAA team yet, but I do think in the next 5 years we'll see one. I think whether it be UNLV, Grand Canyon financially is a team that could move up, I think, at that point if it becomes something that they want to do. U of A would like to, but again, without the facility, that would be a tough drive. But so NCAA, I think they're going to see in the next 5 years another NCAA team or possibly two. Your thoughts on NCAA hockey out here?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I think, like I said before, I mean, if you're a recruit, why wouldn't you want to come here? Right. We got some good schools, big schools, and I do believe that there's enough players in the U.S. and that to make more competitive teams. Yeah. I mean, there's need for growth, and I look at it, years ago when I played college hockey, that there was a high percentage were Canadian players, and now there's so many good American players that it's harder for some of these Canadian people to get college scholarships down the States, because there's plenty of good U.S. kids and there's local kids, and you see that these programs like ASU, they're recruiting local kids, which is a compliment to the coaches and the programs we have in state, and I think that's awesome. So I would love to see whether UNLV, they seem to be maybe a little farther along than some of the other ones, and then in town here, I mean, I think that would be a fantastic long-term goal for Grand Canyon, because they've jumped up really quickly, really fast. Mm-hmm. And then U of A, I think, like you said, if there was a facility and that's a great town and a great college campus as well. So I think, the growth of college hockey is awesome. And every time they do that, like ASU has given the kids here a real experience of what college hockey is, because before, when you're a local kid here, there's a couple Colorado schools, then everything was Midwest or back east. Now they can see the programs, they can go and watch the games, and they get the notoriety, and you realize if you're a kid and you get a college hockey scholarship is worth a ton of money, and the experience to get a degree and to travel. I mean, ASU went to China, and some of the experiences that you have in playing, and the campuses are spectacular on all of those schools. So I really hope the growth is there, and I think the rivalries would be great to have some of those schools be D1 hockey teams and the in-state rivalry.
All right, the final word. I'm getting old. I don't know about you. You look just as young as you did when you played goalie. But when we look at the growth, I think a lot of things that get overlooked are the former NHL players that are moving to the Valley of the Sun, having kids now that are in their teens starting to play hockey. We look at Tyson Nash's son. We look at Shane Doan's son, Ray Whitney. Just go down the list, one after another. But that really is putting the foothold on the future, if you ask me.
Oh, absolutely. And prior to that, we had some very good coaches, and no disrespect against them and that, but we just didn't have maybe some of the coaches that had some of that experience. Yeah. And a lot of the players with the Coyotes and other teams, they're retiring and staying here. Yep. And they want to get involved in their kids, and there really seems to be a common theme of the NHL players having kids that start hockey young and are good and successful and stuff. So I think it's fantastic. The Derek Morrises that are coaching, and these other guys that are coaching the programs, and not just NHL players. There's guys who have played in the American Hockey League, and the guys who have played in Europe, and there's some fantastic coaching. And I think the kids are amazed, and I think some of these people from out of town, they go to the rink and the Ice Den or other rinks, and they see Shane Doan there with his team helping out, or like you said, some of these other NHL players. So I think that really helps. So I think that's been great, and I think it's wonderful that these players are getting involved in the sport and giving back to them. And sometimes they're not even the head coaches; they're the assistant coaches, and they're not trying to run the team. They're just kind of out there shagging pucks and helping. So I think I applaud those players, and I firmly believe that the pro hockey players are the best people in of any pro athlete in sports, and they give back, and they're humble, and they come in here, and it's a joy for us to see some of them. And my employees that watch some of these players growing up sometimes are in awe when some of the guys come in and stuff. But I think it's awesome, and I look for that to continue as the team's here longer and the valley grows and more people want to come here. So I think I can't thank them enough.
All right. You heard it, folks. We've got the past, the present, the future. It's looking bright here in the Desert Southwest. Randy Exelby, thanks for taking the time to step in. Thanks for inviting us into your store. It's always a pleasure to come through here and look around. And I'm always amazed at what I see in here, because I don't know if there's anything you don't have.
We try. Every day there's something that we don't have. But no, I appreciate all your work, Scott, and everything you've done over the 5 years, and watching you grow is awesome. And I don't think you get enough credit for how much you support all the programs and the colleges and stuff here. So I thank you for what you have done.
I appreciate that. Like I told you many times, it's I follow your path because I saw you start from the ground up, and I thought, if I can do that, and if I can accomplish it in the same amount of time that you did, it's a success, right? So I'm after it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, folks. Tune in next Sunday for another great Sunday special.